Alright, YouTube. It's a real nice day here in Las Vegas early in the morning, about 10 o'clock. So it's about 85, 90 degrees today. I guess it's going to be a real hot one. Speaking of hot, today I want to talk a little bit about Vietnam. You know, I guess it's real muggy and hot over there. Mainly I want to talk about the Vietnam conflict. A lot of people don't want to really call it a war, but as you know, this particular area, Vietnam, it's repelled a lot of invaders. Before the U.S. got involved, the Vietnamese, they repelled the French. I guess it was part of their colonialism, French colonialism, back in the 50s and 40s, right after Japan, and I think that before China. Well, it was a lot of countries. You know, they were just invading Vietnam all the time, and most of the time they repelled them. But one thing that I'm finding out is that a lot of the people who actually live in Vietnam, they don't actually speak the language. So you run into a conflict there when you try to gather intelligence. And well, anyway, I want to talk a little bit about the war now. Like I said, there was a problem with intelligence, and they really didn't, meaning the U.S. and their allies, really didn't try to address the problems of intelligence until later on in the war, when they tried pressing real hard for intelligence, and they was like going into some of the villages and interrogating the people, you know, and intelligence. But a lot of the people who actually lived in those villages, they didn't speak English. I mean, they didn't speak English, and they didn't speak Vietnamese. So it was a bitter conflict. I mean, bitter confusion as far as gathering intelligence. And most of the times that the United States did have intelligence, they didn't actually use it right. They would probably ignore it. Here's a prime example. During the Tet Offensive. Now, they had intelligence. I think it was 2 Tet Offensives. But anyway, I think it was the last one. I think they probably had a little bit more intelligence than the first one. Well, anyway, so they had all this intelligence about the Tet Offensive, but they didn't necessarily use it because they didn't think the Vietnamese, they had the gumption to attack. So but the Vietnamese, they had different goals in relation to the U.S. The U.S., they're thinking, oh, the Vietnamese, they're going to attack and they're going to take it over and they're going to hold it. You know, no. They had really clear objectives on what they wanted to do. But mainly when they did attack, and which they did capture some of these cities, they had really clear objective, and mainly they wanted to weed out some of the people who was gathering intelligence for the U.S. and the South Vietnamese. I think we lost like 60 some thousand people over there in Vietnam, mainly because the Vietnamese, I mean, they would attack you with 2 or 3 people. They would attack a garrison with 2 and 3 people. They didn't really, you know, care about how many people they was going up against. So, and another thing that they found out later in the war was that the Vietnamese, the Viet Cong, and the NVA, they had more support. They had like probably 60, 80% support of the people in that country. So it was really hard for so it was real hard for the U.S. as far as like when they started trying to gather support for the U.S. and the South Vietnamese government. They realized that they couldn't really, I think in the end they realized that they couldn't really persuade these people to actually, you know, support them. I think the main problem was that the people who lived in the valley and near the oceans and lakefront property and all that, seaports, those were the people, the Vietnamese. So mainly they spoke Vietnamese, but the people who lived in the mountains and in some of the valleys, they spoke a different language. They was a wholly different group of people. And I think the U.S. actually helped the people that the Viet Cong and the NVA, I think they actually helped them take control over that country. Mainly because they tried to really give us some support, but I think that the U.S. just couldn't get the support of the people because you were dealing with different groups of people, different languages, and different cultures of people. So in the end, the U.S. actually helped the Viet Cong and the NVA take over that country. Mainly because the U.S., you know, they couldn't gather enough support. You know, they probably knew that. You know, it was gonna be hard. But these people, you know, they was real strong, and I guess they felt that this was their country, you know, and the U.S. and the Vietnamese, the people who live near the seaports and all that they was the invaders. So, so mainly they was trying to get them out. The Viet Cong and the NVA, they was trying to get those people out of the country, and I think the United States actually helped facilitate getting those people to their demise of the South Vietnamese government. Now I want to talk a little bit about the war. I think one of the strangest things about the Vietnam conflict was that a couple of these places up north, I think near Way, I forget some of the other cities up there. Well, anyway, it was around the DMZ, dividing line between North and South, and they was closer to, I think, the Laotian border. Anyway, the Vietnamese, they had long-range guns that was constantly shelling some of these outposts. I think the Marines was manning some of these bases, and they was constantly being shelled by these long-range artillery guns. Every day they was getting hit, and I think one of the generals, U.S. generals, he said that I said, all right, all the bunkers has got to be equipped where they can repel some of this lightweight artillery shells. But as far as the long range, those long range shells that was hitting, he didn't specify the bunkers to be equipped with that. So we lost a lot of people, and as I think I forget the long tray, I forget I can't pronounce it. Anyway, Long Ben, one of these. Well, anyway, it was up around the DMZ near North Vietnam and the Laotian border, and they was constantly being shelled. They had them fitted, the bunkers fitted with all this, I guess, metal armor, so they can repel these light mortar shells. So they was constantly being shelled every day, and then they was afraid of being overrun. So they had an air base there, and they were flying in C-130s and dropping tons and tons of ammunition, supplies, or whatever people need. And as these C-130s come in, they was being shot at, and I think they one of the planes, I think it was C-130, it got shot down. It was loaded with fuel or something like that. Anyway, it got shot down. I don't know if it got shot down, but it usually when they land, they're more susceptible to being hit by mortar fire and stuff like that. So, and another thing too, the Vietnamese, they was real highly sophisticated in their artillery. I mean, a lot of people I don't think realize that, but they would shoot off around. I guess that's with any, artillery unit, you have to adjust your fire. But these guys was pretty good with their artillery fire. I don't know if I talked about the Tiet offensive or not. I think it happened in '68. I think they had one earlier too. Well, anyway, the U.S. they had all this intelligence about the movement of troops. I mean, you're talking about it, like, I guess 80,000 troops that was moving, the, being in position and moving around and stuff. And the U.S. they actually had intelligence. They would, what they would do, they would drop all this sophisticated tripwire, and so they would monitor the troop movement of people that way. And so anyway, the Vietnamese, they attacked in I guess the New Year. They call it the Tet Offensive. It was the Vietnamese New Year. So they attacked. They hit like 60 cities, and I think some of the cities got actually overran and stuff. I think way, and they actually went in and they captured some of the Vietnamese, and I think they assassinated a bunch of them. Mainly, they had names. They had so much intelligence. The Vietnamese, I think, actually had. The North Vietnamese and the Viet Cong, I think they actually had more intelligence on the U.S. Troop movement and the South Vietnamese troop movement than the U.S. actually had. So they knew, where we was, where the military was, the U.S. military and South Vietnamese. They knew where they was all the time. So mainly, I think they knew the country real well too. They knew all the routes and the quickest way to get somewhere and how to get back. So they was real knowledgeable about the whole country. And I don't think the U.S. it wasn't that knowledgeable about it. That's why we had a lot of problems there.